Hello, my name is Andreas Stuber. I'm going to show you how Bidstruct allowed us to create offers more safely, more rapidly, at a better quality, and at the right price. This was essential to our rapid growth that we had in the last 5 years. First, I'd like to start with a quick overview about Expertflow. So Expertflow is an international systems integrator. We have 5 offices, one in Switzerland, Morocco, Cairo, also in Egypt, Kenya, and Pakistan. We have deployed contact centers in about 15 countries, and so far we've deployed about 100 contact centers. We always work with local IP telephony partners in each one of those countries who usually take care of the LAN, WAN, and server aspect of those deployments. We are aiming for mass deployment, which means that we try to have a very high volume of contact center deals so that we are able to deliver those deployments at a very attractive cost and be competitive. In order to be able to achieve this very large volume of deals, we obviously need to be able to submit a lot of offers. Currently, we submit about 1 offer per day. In many cases, those offers respond to RFPs, RFPs with compliancy sheets. We need to submit PowerPoint presentations, project plans, which indicate which tasks the client has to do, what we are going to do, and what our partners will do as part of the project. Furthermore, we need to submit a Word write-up that exactly contains the specific descriptions of the products and services that we will include, as well as a series of flyers. Next, I'd like to touch a word on how our partners, the systems integrators, usually do offers. So you have to know that contact center offers often require thousands of different products. We typically have about a dozen suppliers for each one of those bids. And we've had an experience of working about with 300 partners throughout Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. In many cases, companies have to think very well whether they want to submit a bid or not, because it's very costly very often to submit an offer in terms of resources. Very often you need the most qualified and technically most adept people to respond to a complex RFP, so it's quite some effort. And this effort can in many cases be larger than the effort to actually deploy the project afterwards. So many companies do what we call a bid review. So in the bid review, we have all the top management coming together and deciding whether a bid should be submitted for a particular project or not. If the company decides to go ahead, typically you assign a bid manager who then coordinates all the pre-sales, the sub-suppliers, the different engineers who will respond to different parts of the RFP, who will analyze several technical questions. Then the engineers start working, they draft bill of quantities, bill of materials, go through order guides, communicate with the vendors. All this information is then being pulled together, and often at the end you have the account manager and some executive assistants who will pull together all the projects. And then at the end you have a project manager who will draft the project plan. So usually creating a whole large offer like this can take easily weeks, if not months, to prepare. And so companies have to think very well whether or not they want to submit such a quote. So this is how a typical systems integrator works. If you also have something new in this offer, there is often a big risk associated with it. Customers might change their requirements in the course of the route. You might have different options or alternatives that need to be offered. Things might be eliminated during negotiations. Prices change. You have to add or remove things very rapidly. And especially in the closing phase of a bid, you actually need to be able to change things very rapidly. And changing things very rapidly is very risky. So Very often you end up either overpricing because you are careful and you add an extra markup, or you terribly underprice and you have a project where you hardly have any margin. So this is far away from microeconomics 101, where you try to price exactly on the curve, right? So you have to try to find the best optimum between probability of winning and the margin that you will be able to get out of the deal. And this is very difficult if you have to work very rapidly on very tight time constraints. So we had exactly the same setup as Expertflow when we started, and we saw that this was not a way how we would be able to go forward. It was much too heavy, much too much effort. We hesitated very often to submit an offer. If we submitted, the prices were too high, and so on. So we started developing Bidstruct, and now that we have Bidstruct, we have exactly one pre-sales plus a product manager. In most cases, offers are being done by an executive assistant. Freshly hired executive assistant is able to create, let's say, 80% of all the offers within about 2-3 weeks of training. And basically, the training is about contact centers. So it's showing them what are the most important parameters of qualifying a contact center. So what they do is they choose certain parameters of a contact center, such as the number of agent, number of IVR ports, whether you need outbound ports, whether a CRM solution needs to be added, and so on. So with those rough parameters, I think there are about 150 of them. A call center is completely qualified, and we can very easily then do a quote. And usually within 5 minutes, I mean, once you entered all this information, you have automatically generated a PowerPoint presentation, a Word write-up, a project plan, financial offer that you can analyze along various options. So for example, you can see what is the one-time project cost, what is the annually recurring project cost. You can analyze by product group, you can analyze per supplier, you can analyze by RFP position, or you could analyze, create a bill of quantities, for example, for one single supplier. And everything is done automatically by the tool, by Bidstruct. So this makes the whole offer process for us very rapid and very simple to use. What are the alternative approaches that we evaluated to Bistruct? First of all, we tried Excel. So with Excel, you can do a lot. It's a very powerful tool. You can create big lists, import lists, you can query databases, and so on. So we started off with an Excel sheet, which had pretty sophisticated filtering mechanisms. At some point, we got to the limit, so we started programming with Visual Basic for applications and Excel macros. The problem with those macros is that they are only supported for one particular version of Office. So if some employees on certain regions have different versions of Excel, then your tool will not work. Secondly, you have a problem of data repository, so you probably need a database. In our case, we used SharePoint, which synchronizes pretty nicely with Excel, where we stored all the products and so on. Now, the problem remains that all the code is in the Excel sheet, fully transparent to anybody to whom you will send this Excel sheet, and it's very difficult to maintain. So you have dozens of versions of Excel sheets with dozens of versions of codes and bugs. People might synchronize the data with the central database, or they might not. You have absolutely no control. So, and last but not least, processing can become pretty slow. If you have thousands and thousands of parameters and formulas, usually even Excel and a very fast computer do break down. So that was not really the best approach to do the calculations in Excel. So the second approach was to use systems such an ERP system such as SAP. The problem there is it's very difficult to describe more complex product hierarchies, dependencies, and so on. And you cannot generate Word documents, project plans, PowerPoint presentations, describe which flyers are required, and so on. So it's okay to just take one product after the other, but you still have to manually pull things together, and it does not really help you in creating Word offers and so on. And lastly, we evaluated 3 CRM solutions. None of those really satisfied our requirements because they were not really focused on managing products, creating offers. They were more tuned towards managing a pipeline, managing the history regarding a certain customer, knowing which customer had which products, and they're tendentially more tuned towards retail customers. So the problem was there was really no tool that completely satisfied our requirements. We also then had a look at certain CPQ tools. The problem there is that what we do as a systems integrator in a pretty complex environment requires possibility to represent those product hierarchies and dependencies in a pretty sophisticated way. So the tools that we did evaluate were either very much focused on only generating an offer, a Word offer, or did not have a possibility to have very complex algorithms to include or exclude certain products. And at the end of the day, we decided to start with Expertflow, and we spent several years, man-years now, to develop this online tool that basically fulfills all our requirements.